at the end of the line, it's about money and it's about margins. And there's so many players, especially the Chinese, have come into the domestic market. It's sort of a race to the bottom on margin. Cross-border requires technology for customs clearance if you want to do it right. All those things really tie into a better margin for us as aggregators in the cross-border space.
Welcome to the Freight Forward podcast, where we talk to the operators, founders, and leaders shaping the future of logistics. I'm Matt Dixon, and my guest today is building infrastructure for a future where manufacturers in Asia ship directly to consumers in Latin America, cutting out the middleman and streamlining traditional distribution channels. Doug Pilkington is the founder of Cross-Borderly, and he's running 3 businesses to make that happen. It sounds like a customer clearance operation, a tech partnership, and a brand new e-commerce sales place called Taquino. Did I pronounce that right?
Very good. Yes. Thanks for having me.
My time in San Diego's paid off with a little bit of Spanish.
There you
Doug,
go.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks very much. I look forward to speaking with you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. So why don't you tell me a little bit about how you got into logistics and how long you've been in this cross-border logistics space? How did you get into?
Sure. Well, if you call trucking logistics, which I guess you can, I started with Schneider back in the day in Charlotte at their operating center in Charlotte as a service team leader. So basically that was my foray into logistics, both managing time in transit, managing their off time, managing home time, managing their pay, their load, all of those things. And it sort of got me intrigued with point to point domestically, but also with what the human element was in logistics for these drivers running over the road and being away from their families and stuff like that. So that's how I got into it. And then my first job when I left Schneider was with a company called Brokers Worldwide. And Brokers Worldwide is now known as Ascendia. And at that time, 2002-ish, it was postal mail going cross-border, largely to Canada and some rest of world. This was before the Swiss and the French bought Brokers Worldwide, and they were doing it largely out of Fallcroft, Pennsylvania. They opened a Chicago operating center where I lived and ultimately brought me on, and that's where I learned cross-border, both postal mail, small parcel, but it was largely a reseller for the USPS IPA products, International Priority Airmail products. And that's how I got into it. And it's been a transformative industry over the last 25 years, but also largely that company doing what they do now, still somewhat tied to the USPS, but what they're doing in the rollout of internet and e-commerce and the $14 trillion industry that's become.
Interesting. Why cross-border specifically? What problem are you solving there?
Well, we're not specifically cross-border. We do resell 8 different providers domestically, but I'll be honest with you, Matt, at the end of the line, it's about money and it's about margins. And there's so many players, especially the Chinese, have come into the domestic market. There's so many players. It's sort of a race to the bottom on margin. Cross-border requires technology for customs clearance if you want to do it right. It requires pretty much an air move. Outside of maybe Canada and Mexico, it requires an air move. And ultimately, the technology that goes into tracking time in transit and delivery, real-time tracking, real-time right now parcel delivery for customers in Ecuador and Colombia and Chile that may not have the best technology or internet speed. All those things really tie into a better margin for us as aggregators in the cross-border space.
Interesting. Yeah, because margins are fairly tight in logistics.
Correct.
Yeah. So what kind of complexity is there with the customs and regulatory and the last mile?
Well, I don't want to blame any White House on complexities for changing the rules, but every 4 years they're likely to change. As of late, a year ago, President Trump wiped out the de minimis for the U.S. inbound. So we used to have a threshold of $800 where people from all over the world could bring stuff into the U.S. And as long as it was $800 per transaction, it was not subject to duties and taxes. Well, he came in and said, that's an imbalance. I'm tired of funding the world. America needs her money. So he cut out the de minimis completely. Anything coming into the US now is subject to the tax threshold, the duty threshold, if applicable, based on the harmonized code of the product, right? So every product, whether it's, Sig Sauer binoculars or a $3 calculator, everything has a harmonized code. And these harmonized codes dictate where it's made, how much it's worth, all of those things. And those go into a duty and or a tax threshold coming into the US. But to answer your question specifically, rest of the world, from Europe to Latin America, Asia, Australia, they've all recognized, hey, the US just cut the de minimis. Maybe we should cut it too. Maybe we should participate in country first mentality, and while still wanting to do business with the globe, maybe we make a little more money on the tax and the duty coming in so that we could, maybe build some infrastructure for our country, especially what we're doing in Latin America. Colombia, Ecuador, Chile, Argentina, all changing the rules right now because they want to accommodate a more reasonable transaction for them and to get paid. I mean, Ecuador changed the rules overnight last year. It was essentially tax-free. Now, they had some crazy rules, but on June the 8th of last year, we were handling a day for Temu into Ecuador. The country of Ecuador said $20 per parcel on every parcel coming into the country. And Temu went, whoa, wait a second. We didn't accommodate for this. So these cross-border mentalities require you to ultimately pay attention on the product, where it's coming from, where it's going to, and make sure technology is able to accommodate those changes in the cart before the transaction's committed and converted, so as to recognize, is that going to be affected by these de minimis changes? Is it going to be affected by the rules? And more importantly, how can technology be changed in the cart so as to maximize and maybe slip under that de minimis to maximize your conversion? Throw in free shipping, split the order. There's a lot of things in technology, and that's where our Ship GPT technology comes into place for really maximizing cart optimization.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's kind of a case of unintended consequences, right? It sounds like a change and
But
cascades down.
exactly. Well, I'll tell you what it does. And I can, give many examples, but the big providers in the US on the technology side, they're 53 or 54% higher than we're charging in the cart right now because of the associated fees that they're not accounting for. What does that do to conversion? It cancels it out. People aren't going to pay 54% more than they have to. So what we're really seeing is a 38% drive in what we're offering in the conversion, because it's all of a sudden becoming more affordable to ship from anywhere to anywhere.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So you also do like shopping cart integration?
We do. Yeah. Ultimately, the conversion happens when everyone integrates with us in completion. And by that, I mean, hey, you're going to get Ship GPT free. You're going to have access to the marketplace, but ultimately the integration is going to allow for you to really recognize what you were doing wrong in the past, because right now technology has given you an opportunity to say, look, it's going to Canada. It's a different rate for Toronto than it is Vancouver, with the HST, the PST, the GST. And so what we're able to do and offer is to say, look, we can roll this in and give free shipping to Macy's.com or BassPro.com, who really doesn't recognize how to maximize that conversion, right? And whether you're at Amazon or Walmart or eBay, ultimately it's transit time and shipping costs. That's the two things everyone is exclusively looking at for time in transit and cost for shipping. But if you cross a border, you have to think about duties and taxes. Well, if you get all of that rolled in and you're able to collect it in the cart, and it's 54% less than some of these other guys are paying, you're driving up conversion is what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a big factor. Conversion is critical in e-commerce. So with all this going on, what's really working and what are you proud of having built this?
Well, proud of and worried about. Okay. Two very important things as a business owner is looking over the hill and see what's coming next, right? So I'm very proud of associating the aforementioned Temu to Ecuador and recognizing that, they pulled back. They're a marketplace. Maybe we create our own marketplace and not just do, one or two countries in Latin America. We'll open it all 650 million people in LATAM. We'll open it to anywhere. So if people in Canada or the US or Germany want to order on the marketplace, they'll use cross-borderly for shipping. We have some of the best rates globally with our partners, primarily in China, that give us access to deep discounts. Now, I'm happy about that. I'm happy about having Taquino and what it presents for the marketplace. Products from all over the world on the marketplace in what we call universes. So if you're a firefighter and you want specific products that allow you to do a better job, more comfortable job, a more colorful job, all of the products for a firefighter is in the firefighter universe on Taquino. Likewise, if you're in the medical field, if you want certain kind of scrub or a certain kind of product or whatever, you can find it in the medical universe. Or if you want cosmetics or clothing or Nike shoes or Rolexes, it's all on Taquino, right? And it's all within a universe. Now, I'm very proud of that, but I'm also very worried about the ability continually to stay relevant with new products, but also driving traffic to the site, right? The marketing effort. What does that take? What does that look like? It's a big expense, but using AI and having rolled out a different level of AI within our allocation of IT and resources, we have AI using for customer service around the clock, for marketing, for ultimately driving traffic around what's selling and what's not, what's being replenished at a rate that can be counted on. Some of the stuff comes from different areas of China and Vietnam, Philippines. Time in transit, to get that into our 200,000 square feet FTZ in Miami, our fulfillment operation, we have to include that transit time because no one wants to wait 12 days on it to come from China, right? They want it there in 4 or 5 days from Miami. So the marketing that drives the traffic to the site, that's what I'm most worried about because it's continually, we're using social media to drive traffic. And while it's worthy and doable, you have to stay continuously invested in the marketing effort and changing up those efforts. You can't keep inundating people with the same message, much like every Sunday, well, really every day, but primarily on Sundays, you see all of the pharma companies marketing to us, ask your doctor about this and that and this and that. And we get just pushed down our throats so much so that I want to call my congressman and say, can't you do anything about this? It's mine. I mean, I at the point where I hit pause and mute on the TV because I don't want to hear it anymore. So staying relevant on the marketing side is what I'm most concerned about because I'm not a marketing guy. I understand what we're trying to do, but staying fresh and relevant, we've hired a marketing agency to run that for us using social media and not, but I think that's the best way to stay relevant is creating a message that's not in your face all the time, but making you recognize that you're losing out on conversion and you don't even recognize it.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you got to keep your throttle all the way open all the time just to have a chance, right?
Correct.
Gas and you're going to slow down.
Correct.
So in your day to day, like what's a fire drill that happens every week or what also eats up your time and creates headaches?
Well, right now, because we do so much business with the platforms in Asia, I am up from on this computer from 6 a.m. till about 10 p.m. So working with partners in Australia and Asia. So Shenzhen is 15 hours ahead of me here in Utah. Sydney is 18 hours ahead of me, right? So I get up to the messages from Asia and then work all day with everything that I'm doing here in the US and the Western Hemisphere in Canada. And then I'm working with all of the new tech that we're doing, all the new dev, which we have people in India, Pakistan, Spain, Venezuela, Miami, all dev people that are working on all of the AI rollouts for all the things that we're doing next. I mentioned the Manifest show in Vegas in a couple of weeks. We're rolling out a bunch of new technology that on the marketing side, we're going to present there to show people look, if you really pay attention to this, and some aspects of marketing or some aspects of going global and using some of these technologies to go global with your .com, you're being taken advantage of. You're paying too much. You're not getting the results. Let me show you a better way.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, there's always There's room for improvement with everything. It just,
Well, yeah. I mean, this technology around cart conversion, right? It has nothing to do with logistics necessarily, but if you think about it in the way that we've populated this, is we started off as a shipping company, and then we rolled in a clearance technology. We recognize all of the problems with the clearance, and then we started the marketplace and recognized what we can do within the marketplace. And we weren't satisfied with that even. What we did was we said, Lynn, what's the biggest pain point with doing business with people like us? And the biggest pain point is the integration, the IT, the API technology connecting the systems. So we're building out something that is going to take that pain. I mean, if you want to right now, if you won some business with Amazon, you wouldn't see your first parcel for 6 months because of the ATI integration. They put you in line, they put priorities around who's next. It'll take 6 months. The technology we built and are rolling out, it will take one day.
interesting. So you mentioned system integration. That's my love language. That's what I've been doing for 25 years. Tell me a little bit about that. How did you come about what systems to integrate, and how do you approach a new integration and help your customers?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it depends largely, at least from my opinion, it depends largely on the size and scope of your shipping operation. Are you using a warehouse, a 3PL? Or are you doing it yourself out of your own warehouse and you own everything? Are you outsourcing through partners? That integration required generally depends on the size and scope of what you do now. If you're using ShipStation and you're printing your own labels, and hey, that's great. Ship Hero, ShipStation, EasyPost, great platforms. Absolutely will help you get to the next level. They're not the cheapest option. They've got to make money and they've got to keep the lights on. I get it. So that's the quickest way for people to do business with us is we tie in to ShipStation and the others. They're tied in, and ShipStation basically manages all that and allows them to print our labels. That's the easiest and fastest way to do it. And we love those companies for that because it takes the pain away from us being able to or having to do that ourselves. Now, with the very large operators, especially in Asia, they don't use these US platforms. They largely do the integrations with us. As a matter of fact, I'm doing 4 right now with large platforms in Asia that are doing a direct tie-in to us. So we are painfully since, let's see, we were at the SILF conference in Shenzhen, which is the Chinese International Logistics Fair in Shenzhen in September. There's 250,000 people at this show. We are so far behind China and what they're doing for logistics and transportation as a country and as a commerce. The .coms are in the US for sure, but the stuff's being made in Asia, right? No surprise. But the integrations with them have to be direct because they don't work well with each other. They don't like each other. They don't participate with each other. It's a very cutthroat industry in China. So when we go over there and we make these relationships happen, it's basically based on 2 things. It's what can you give me for clearance and last mile? Cost, they want to, as cheap as you can do it, and how much volume is too much. If I give you 100,000 a day, can you handle that to Costa Rica? Costa Rica has 4 million people. I mean, 100,000 a day, you're going to cover the country in a month, right? So reality is nothing's manufactured in Costa Rica. They have to bring in everything. Same with Dominican Republic, same with Colombia, same with Peru, same with Argentina. They have to bring this stuff in. Well, my partner's Venezuelan. So when Venezuela opens, we have everything set up to open Venezuela to Asia, right? So that integration with them has to happen directly. And it's why we've built this integration path and doing it in one day, because it's, I won't say a blockade to e-commerce and blockade to revenue, but it is a hindering factor for all companies when they want to get started quickly, especially before Chinese New Year or before the fourth quarter in the US, where revenue is really going to drive and spike. You really want to have these integrations done and tested. If we can offer it in one day, problem solved.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so you mentioned your cart GPT. Is that what you called it?
Ship
GPT, yes. Tell me a little more about that. How did you come about that idea, and what does it do for your customers?
Well, I'll tell you, we were sort of forced into giving it a name because one of our largest partners, Waltech, in Shanghai is carrier agnostic. So we could not go in as cross-borderly and them show preferential treatment to our technology as a carrier because they do business with everybody in Asia, including a lot of people in Europe. Big postal administrations in Australia, New Zealand, all of Europe use Waltex technology for printing labels and whatnot. So a past relationship and I worked together and we reconnected, and he runs new ventures with Waltech, and he contacted us and said, "Hey, I heard about what you're doing with this technology with cart optimization. Give it a name. We want it." Like, okay, well, that's how we came up with ShipGPT, and that's how we created an avenue for it to be sold in Asia as a customs clearance tool. That's all it is. It ultimately, you can go on shipgpt.com and you can look at it in English, Spanish, or Mandarin. And it will basically tell you, hey, this is how we do this. You're going to allow us to optimize the cart in real time and ultimately slide under de minimis if so far as the, again, Latin America, the crazy rules. You can only have 6 items in the cart. It can't be worth $400 or more. It can't include these products. The number of pieces that you can order in a year is this amount. So it has to check against all these rules. That's what ShipGPT does. It says basically, you're going to Colombia, it's more than $200. You have 6 of the same product, and you're over your threshold of allowance for the month. Can't do it. So what does it do? It takes that, it splits the order so that you get under the $200 de minimis, and now you're cleared, and now your tax threshold is forgiven because you haven't gone over the de minimis, and now we're going to throw in free shipping for those items to Colombia. And ultimately, all of this rolled up, instead of being, let's say you've got, $117 worth of products in one cart and $50 in another and $50 in another. And now you're going to pay the shipping 3 times because our shipping rates from Shanghai all in $7 to $9. If the Asians want to bring it into Miami, I can get a 1-pound parcel delivered in Colombia for about $4. Flying it into Bogota, doing the customs clearance, and doing the delivery anywhere in the country. So ShipGPT is going to take away that barrier. Now, in the 50 conversations that I have on a given day, especially with China and Vietnam, Korea, the one thing that separates us and the technology from others is that the unrealistic advantages of technology for clearance, they don't really care so much about the rates. They can get the low rates anywhere. But in the cart, if they do a conversion and then it gets to clearance and they didn't accommodate for these rules to that person for that commodity, the parcel's abandoned. No one makes money. The person doesn't get their shipment. The company doesn't get their money. It gets abandoned or confiscated, and ultimately it just drives down traffic. So eBay and others, they pulled out of Latin America. We don't trust it. We don't agree with it. We don't understand it. We go in, offer ShipGPT, show them how it works in real time. All right, we want it. Let's test it. So it's a beautiful thing as long as it's robust enough to hit what the expectation for what the Chinese do on the customer service side. They hit our servers 8 million times a day looking for tracking updates, right? They get paid to stay on top of those parcels in a day, their progress. It's Latin America. You're going to get 1 update a day if we're lucky. So you have to have the server capabilities to stay on top of every country's expectations and every customer's expectations for tracking events, for clearance, for post-clearance delivery. I'm not going to pick on Latin America. I mean, 650 million people, and there's a lot of opportunity, but there is a manana attitude down there, and they're not in a rush to do much of anything with regards to stuff that is outside their everyday life, right? They're going to go and they're going to have dinner late and they're going to spend time with their family. And I actually respect the priority they put around the rest of their life other than just work.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting story. So we talked a little bit about how you got here, where we are now. if you're anything like me, I'm sure you've got some big goals. What are your goals for the next 6 to 12 months, and how are you going to get there without adding
Six
anything
to
else?
12 months. I'll tell you, my primary goal in the 6 to 12 months is to roll out that integration update and upgrade and test the crap out of it. So as we really facilitate where it lives and how good it robust it can be for those quick integrations, it's a game changer. If in fact we can roll this out to a level of standard of meeting my expectations, which are high, if we can do that, literally, we can integrate 5 companies a week, every week, right? So we want to stay on top of that. And then the one thing that I mentioned that I haven't done in the past to any degree of speciality is marketing, right? So how we market the products. I've got Korean cosmetics on the site. I've got American e-commerce goods that were manufactured in China but sold on U.S. sites. Macy's and Paul Mitchell pet shampoo, you name it. We've got it all, right? So the ability to market that in a way that drives traffic to the site. The next 6 to 12 months, we'll spend a lot of time doing those two things.
Yeah, it almost sounds like you're making the Amazon for South America.
We are. We are. And, my involvement with Cross Borderly, I've never worked this hard, right? I'm 57 years old. I love what I do. I do it to a degree that drives my family crazy because I'm nonstop with it, but I see the vision. I see where we're going, right? You mentioned 6 to 12 months, but if we reach out 5 years, I have a theory about where this industry is going and what we've branded as creation to the couch. What's going to happen, in my opinion, 3PLs in the US are going to do very well domestically, but for cross border, it's going to somewhat die because the dot coms are going to maintain status quo here in the US. The product is still going to be manufactured in Asia, but the dot com's going to take the order. They're going to send that order to somewhere in Shenzhen. In 72 hours, the order is going to be created from scratch and shipped out to the recipient wherever they are globally, in Toronto, in Bogota, in Sydney. It's going to go straight using our proprietary clearance software and our global rates from Shenzhen to Sydney to Bogota to Toronto. Destination duties paid, all costs rolled in, and it's going to forego all potential of sitting in a warehouse.
Yeah, interesting. So just direct from the manufacturer to the consumer. I see the point too of like the .com e-commerce sites. It doesn't pay for them to sell to the whole world. And then on the other hand, people that are selling to South America may not want to sell to US because they'll just focus on that, right? Just find your niche and deal the customers that you like the most.
Correct. And driving traffic, it's not an easy thing to do globally. You've got a language difference. Central Asia, right? Tajikistan, Ukraine, Kazakhstan. That's the last, that in the Middle East, to really spend a lot of time on US.coms because of logistics and how long it takes to get there. There's a lot of companies in Europe, specifically Sweden and Norway and Germany. They have some robust products, whether it's a Rolex or ski gear. If you said you like to ski, I don't know if you've ever heard a company called Stellar, but in Stockholm, they produce high quality ski gear for very cold, right? It gets very cold in Sweden. But I'll place an order on a Tuesday on Stellar, and that thing ships and delivers to me on Friday. I paid the $1,000, right, for the outfit, right? I spent the money, but they don't charge me shipping, they don't charge me duty, they don't charge me taxes, and it shows up in 3 days at my door in Utah, right? That's doing it right. It's doing it right. They figured it out, right? So, but niche industry, very easy to do globally with DHL Express. They've rolled that into the shopping cart. Ultimately, I never saw any of those costs. I'm a happy customer. All I want's my stuff, right? So 3 days it shows up and I get to go out to Alta and ski all day and stay warm.
Yeah, the Alto's a great place. Love that.
Yes, it is. That's why I moved here.
I grew up learning to ski at Sundance,
Nice.
my stomping grounds.
Yeah.
So what else did I not ask you that you wish I would have asked?
You've really covered it. I mean, at the end of the day, cross-borderly is going to be a household name, whether it's 18 months from now or 5 years from now, simply because we're driving down the barriers to global commerce and global e-commerce, right? So that marketplace is going to ship all over the world. You have an internet connection, you have access to Takino, right? If you're sitting in Boston or Botswana and you want to order from the marketplace, you're going to use ShipGPT and you're going to use cross-borderly, even if you know who we are or not, because it's going to be so seamlessly easy for you to convert, taking away all those costs. No reason not to.
Yeah. Well, and also the hassle. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the bottom line is if you go to the top 100 e-commerce companies in the US, 78% of their business cross-border is Canada, Australia, and the UK. Why don't you ship to Latin America? Well, we ship to Mexico or we ship to Brazil. We don't do it very well, but we do it. Why don't you ship to Colombia? Why don't you ship to Peru, Argentina? It's a lot of people down there that would love to have your stuff. Oh, it's too hard. We don't understand it. Well, we're going to fix that.
Yeah. Well, it probably is too hard for every every e-commerce store to do that. But when you have a platform like yours, then it takes the decision work out.
Correct. Yeah, it's out of sight, out of mind for some people, and I completely get that, especially when they're focused on the domestic market here in the US, which is quite large, 340 million people, but half the size of Latin America, on the population side. So if you really just want to say 2 for 1 and open that door for Latin America, I'll do the work for you and watch you grow organically, and you can thank me later.
Love it. Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time. It was great having you on the podcast. I hope you got value from this conversation, everyone, and subscribe and listen to the podcast. And Doug, if everyone wants to reach out to you or find you, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, doug.pilkington@crossborderly.com. That's the easiest way to get me. And ultimately, it is a fast turnaround for me because commerce and business never sleeps.
Sounds good. Love it. Well, once again, I'm Matt Dixon. Thanks for listening to the Freight Forward podcast, and we'll catch you again next time.
Very good. Thanks for having me. See you.
You bet. So I noticed you had all the integration stuff. Is there anything that like any challenges you guys are currently facing with integrations? Or I'm wondering if some of your clients could use help with integrating their systems or anything like that.
Well, yeah. So the ship stations and ship heroes of the world are making it easy for them and those customers. What's not easy is for us to go around those. Like, let's say there's an account in Brooklyn, New York that wants to use us to Canada, and they do everything. They have no tech at all, right? He's got a little warehouse, he's got no tech, and he dials up to ShipStation and he prints his labels. Well, if I'm not integrated into ShipStation, which I'm not, I'm trying, but ShipStation is a giant, and I'm small potatoes for them. So, but if he wants to stay with ShipStation, then he can't really use me because he has no tech resources. And while he wants the lowered rates, I can save him almost $2 a parcel. He's like, well, can't you get ShipStation to let you in? Like, well, I've been trying for a year and a half, and it's not like I'm not trying, but the precursor to that is the reason why we've designed this middleware. We're going to give it a name, but it's a middleware that basically takes the encumbrance away from people that don't have any tech. So yes, there is a need for help. I'm not IT, and my CTO's in Sao Paulo, Brazil. There's a conversation with him going on around what we're on our second integration of technology we call Track 2. Track 2 is being rolled out tomorrow and testing this new middleware. Depending on how it goes, we may be hiring people to, dump those integrations into Track 2 in a robust state. So, I mean, if it's something that you're looking to do and you speak that language, let me know, because ultimately there's more. I mean, Chanyao, eBay, Temu, Wish, there's so much business coming aboard, not to mention the business that's coming aboard for the US. It's more work than we can do.
Yeah, no, I'm a CTO. That's why I'm fractional CTO. I love tech. I don't do the work, but I know people who do and do
Yeah.
jobs.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Help your customers. I think that's really where I think I could see myself helping.
Okay.
Or if you know anyone else who would like to be on the podcast too, let me know.
Yeah. I think it would probably be relevant. Do you speak Spanish?
No, I
Okay.
can order and negotiate.
Yeah. Stay out of jail. I think it's probably relevant. There's a lot of companies in Miami that we do business with. There's a guy, do you know Raymondo at Global ShopX?
Mm-mm.
He speaks really good English. I think he would be good to have on the podcast because I think he's Chilean or Peruvian. He speaks good English, lives in Miami, but he can talk to Latin America in such a way that he's a partner of ours. He uses our service, but he would be good to talk about where things are from his point of view and more of a technology. Global ShopX, I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They are they're almost like a middleman to Latin America.
Okay.
And I think that would be interesting for people that do a lot of that, which all along the southern border, all along Mexico and Southern California, Miami, Texas, they do what used to be called the 321 model with housing product in Mexico and sending it around the world. But Trump cut it completely out. But I think Raymondo would be a good fit for speaking to that middleman for Latin America.
I love it. Yeah, I'd love an introduction if you're willing to do that.
And then one other on the other coast in Pickering, Ontario. Do you know Alexander Peterson? No, Alexander Hamilton at a company called Frontier.
No.
Okay. I used to work with Alex's dad, John. He's unfortunately passed away, but Alexander Hamilton runs an aggregator in Pickering, Ontario called Frontier. And they do basically all things that go along with transportation, commingling, cross-docking from U.S. goods into Canada. So I think Alex would be a good one for you too.
All right. Yeah. Great. I was looking up stuff while you're talking, and yeah, any introductions I would love. Any help I can provide, let me know. If someone wants to pick my brain, I'm more than happy to help them out. So
Sounds good.
we're looking to give back and make a difference, right?
Sounds good. Yeah, no, I like that. I'll do an email introduction to both of those companies with you, and if it works out, great. And yeah, I'll stay in touch.
Someone else to know.
Absolutely.
All right. Enjoy your ski season. Hopefully you get some good snow soon.
Thanks very much. You take care of yourself.